Hello guys, and welcome to this Volks Wizard video. This is the first video of 2019, so happy new year everybody, and thanks for all your support in 2018. Right then, let's get the year off to a good start with a video on this Audi RS3 saloon. You may recognise it, it's my own car. I bought it in September 2018, about 4 months ago, and it is now sold. It's going to its new owner very soon because an Audi R8 will be taking its place. Can you blame me? I'm hoping that car will produce a lot more content than I could make with a brand new car like this, because the R8 is a bit of a project. There's nothing particularly wrong with it, but it's a typical 5-year-old used car, and as a result there's always stuff to do if you're a bit fussy over your cars. But this car has to go to pay for the R8, and it's a real shame I've got to sell it, because I don't think I'll ever find another one like this, because it has £10,000 worth of options. So I thought before it goes I'll make a video just going through all those options, explaining to you which ones I'd have on my car, which ones I wouldn't, and also giving you advice as to how to tell if your car's got them, because not all of them are immediately obvious. So without any further ado, let me walk you around this very high spec Audi RS3 saloon. Okay, let's start off by having a look around the outside of this very highly spec'd Audi RS3 saloon. Now, as is common with German manufacturers, if you want a choice of colour, you do have to pay extra for it, and the only free colour you get with the Audi RS3 saloon is Nardo Grey. It's not to everybody's tastes, and if you want colour on top of your primer, then I'm afraid you're going to have to pay extra. So this metallic Fluoret Silver was £550. There are a few other metallics you can choose from. If you pay £775, you could have a Crystal Effect paint, that's Arrow Blue or Panther Black, both very lovely colours. If you pay quite a lot more, £2,400, you can have a colour from the Audi exclusive range. So if you like the Viper Green you saw in my other videos, then you can have that. You could have Riviera Blue, Nogara Blue. There's quite a big range of colours that you could have, and you might get some of that money back at resale. But so far, we've only spent £550. So let's move on to the Gloss Black Styling Pack. Okay, so the Gloss Black Styling Pack costs £800. It gets a bit confusing here, because as standard the cars get a bit of the Gloss Black Styling Pack and they get a bit of the Matte Aluminium Styling Pack. So a standard car would have this in body coloured, and it would have this as matte aluminium. If you order the Gloss Black Styling Pack, you get the grille frame in black and you get this blade in black. If you order the Matte Aluminium Styling Pack, you keep the standard matte aluminium here, and the blade becomes matte aluminium. The mirror housings as standard are matte aluminium, but they change with the Black Gloss Styling Pack. Likewise with the mirror, the window surrounds, they're also matte aluminium as standard. At the back, things get a bit more interesting. So if you have the standard car, this is body coloured, this is the Gloss Black Styling Pack spoiler. If you have the matte aluminium styling pack, you still just get a body coloured spoiler. The rear diffuser, as standard, is gloss black, so nothing changes with the Black Gloss Styling Pack. If you have the matte aluminium styling pack, this changes to matte aluminium. Yeah, I hope that makes sense, because it took me a while to work it out, but basically, if you like it all in black, order the Gloss Black Styling Pack. If you like it to be a bit more bling, then order the matte aluminium pack. It all depends on what colour you choose. So I think Evo's car was Viper Green with the matte aluminium styling pack, and yeah, it didn't look particularly good to my eyes, while the Viper Green one I had in Germany, Austria, Italy, that was a Viper Green but with a black pack, and I thought that looked awesome. Likewise, red calipers, these cost a bit extra, so let's just have a look at these. Now, as standard, the car comes with black, and these are red. I think if you have ceramics, they're grey, at about £5 to £6 grand. Right, brake calipers in red, that cost £325. So yeah, again, you have to choose what you combine that with carefully, because some colours it will just look a bit odd on, but with a relatively plain colour like silver, you can add it on and it just brings a bit of colour to the exterior, which is not bad at all. While we're down here, let's have a look at the wheels. Now, there are a couple of things you need to take into account with the wheels, and that is that it's not just about the style, it's also about the width. So the standard wheels are actually just 8J at the front. In fact, they're 8J all round, so you get 235, 35, 19 front and rear tyres. If you pay a bit extra, you get them in this, I mean the style actually doesn't change, you just get them in this either gloss black with a diamond cut finish, or you can have that in matte titanium or diamond cut. The actual style of the wheels is the same, but what is important is that it goes up from 8J to 8.5 inch, and likewise the tyre goes up from 235 to 255 35 19. just at the front. Now, it's a very unusual situation for a manufacturer to actually give you the option of wider tyres, particularly on the front of a car. And I know these were famous for being understeering on the limit, and this car is not. I can guarantee you this car is a very neutral car. I'm not sure how much of that is contributed to by the tyres, because, okay, the more tyre you have at front, the better. I think I've read an engineer said it's not all about understeer, it's more to do with how long the tyres survive when you're on track, because a narrower tyre will overheat. And continuing the black and silver theme is the panoramic glass sunroof. So this is a £1,075 option. It's the kind of thing that I don't really take much notice of, but people really like it. And actually, it's only when I started to realise how much more you could hear the exhaust with the roof open, thanks to Doug DeMuro's video, because you can open the roof and just keep the blind shut. I thought, actually, yeah, I would definitely want this on a car. It also does lighten the cabin a bit, but not as much as you might think. We've also got the privacy glass on this car, so this is 375, and it gives you the side windows, and 2 of those and 1 on the back, so 5 windows in this probably 75% I think tint, which, yeah, it does look pretty cool. I've never been a big fan of tinted glass, but if it comes from the factory and it looks that good, I would definitely pay it, and it's part of the black and silver package on this car, so I think it looks the business. Right, let's have a look at the RS design pack. This is only on the inside. It costs 895 quid. Gives you 5 little things that combined together make a real big difference to the ambience of the interior. So let's start off with these armrest pads. They're in leatherette, and they've got this red stitching. The seat belts have a red piping on them, which is pretty cool. The mats are beautiful. Front footwells have got these RS logoed mats with red stitching. And you have the red trim in the air vents. It's really nice, actually. I know it's plastic, but it looks like quite high quality. I think Mercedes A45 AMG's got similar, and they look pretty shoddy in comparison. But the best thing about it for me is this lovely section of Alcantara on both sides of the centre console. They're called Alcantara knee pads, and they really have a massive effect on the ambience of the cabin. I'd pay the 895 just for those on their own. While we're in here, let's just have a look at the pan roof. So you get a manual blind, and then that's the roof, so it's quite big really. It's not as big as something like in a Tiguan, but unlike those in say Scirocco's, you can actually open it, so it will open all the way and sit on the roof. And when it's open, you can pull the blind forward, which means the exhaust noise comes pouring into the cabin without the wind. So that's how I like to run these cars when it's not freezing. Right then, let's have a look at the next option. It's called the Comfort and Sound Pack, and this costs £995. It's basically a bundle of 3 different items that individually I reckon would cost around £2,000. That's just a guess. The first one we're going to look at is called Advanced Key. Now this is basically keyless entry and keyless go, so you don't need to put a key in the ignition to start the car, you don't need to press the button on the remote to open the car. Just keep the key on you or in a bag and you can do what you want. Now this has got security implications, so not everybody will want this. You can probably disable it if you don't want it and you want the other 2 items in the bundle, but anyway, it's your choice. If you live outside of the UK, it's probably not a problem, but over here, yeah, there's some really clever thieves around. Anyway, let's have a look at how it works. So the car at the moment is locked, you can tell because the mirrors are folded in and the alarm light is flashing. I've got the key on me to open the car. I just do that, so it's gone from locked to unlock just by putting your hand on the handle. And then to start the car, just press that button. So I'm not going to start it, just turn the ignition on and turn it off again. And then to lock the car, you just put your hands back where it was before, so you just can do that, and that's the car locked, mirrors folding in. Now it does seem to get a bit confused if I want to try and get back in the car now, because it'll just keep on trying to lock it, which is really annoying. So I'll just use the remote, and that getting in or opening the door function works on both of the front doors, not just the driver's door. The weird thing about it is that once you've started the car, you don't have to have the key in it, so you could leave the key somewhere and drive off, and that's how the thieves get away with it. They can't actually stop the car and restart it. Anyway, on a lighter note, let's have a look at number 2, and that is the Bang & Olufsen sound system. Now this is really easy to spot if the car's got it, because it's got these lovely front woofers with aluminium and LED, so at night these glow, they look really cool. But you're probably not interested in the way it looks, and there's probably no point in me trying to demonstrate how good it is down a GoPro, so I'll just read to you the spec sheet. So it's got 14 high performance speakers, including a centre speaker and a subwoofer, a 15 channel amp with a total output of 705 watts, and yeah, exclusive speaker covers and blah blah blah. So yeah, it's pretty clever, and it's a bit of a bargain, I think, just to be as part of that bundle for $995. Now on to the third one. Again, it's a really desirable one, this is, but in reality, using it, I don't really see the point, because the car's got front and rear parking sensors. Why you need a rear view camera as well, I'm not sure. I'll just show you how it works anyway. So you need to have the ignition on, which we can do, and the MMI screen is used for the parking sensors and the camera. So if you don't have a camera, it will just display the sensors. So for me, that's pretty good. That's all I need. So put it into reverse. So this is a view out the back. This is the sensors saying there is something, which is the hedge, within range but not in danger. And the front's also being monitored, but because we're miles away from the fence, there's nothing there. So I personally would be quite happy with just the parking sensors. So yeah, I don't reckon I'd probably buy the comfort and sound pack myself, or I wouldn't reject a car if it didn't have it, but for $995, maybe I'd order it for resale in the future, because it's only a small proportion of the asking price of the car. There is one more extra on the inside of this car I need to show you, and that is the Super Sport seat option. So for 795 quid, that's actually cheaper than the RS design pack, you get a pair of these sporty front seats. Now, it's not like the good old days when the RS4 had Recaros as standard and you used to order bucket seats with a hard back and slots and stuff. I think these are usable by everybody, really. They're almost more of a styling thing than a function thing, because they're not particularly well bolstered, not much more so than the standard seats. You don't have a headrest there, you just have these fixed headrests. They just look cool. The quilting is lovely. Diamond quilting looks good in every car. So that's pretty cool. $795. Some people say that's pretty essential, and well, I guess if you're going to spend this amount of money on a car, you do want that, because it's only 800 quid and it does change the ambience of the car quite a lot. A lot of people say the standard seats look like those out of a 1.6 TDI S-Line, and yeah, that's not a particularly good compliment. Right then, let's do my favourite option, and that's the RS Sports Exhaust. So this cost £1,000, and you can tell if a car's got it fitted by the black exhaust tips, which for a change are not fake, they're actually connected to the exhaust system. So yeah, a glossy black. I do remember looking for them to buy one back in the summer and looking at the photos and going, is that black, is that silver? And yeah, a lot of them were silver, but don't let that put you off. If you can find a car that's perfect in every other way, you can buy the system from a dealer. It's only just over £1,000, and you get to keep the standard exhaust then. So yeah, it's not the end of the world, but you do have to have it, really, because you're probably buying this car because it's a 5-cylinder engine and it sounds great. You could have bought the S3, which in many ways is a very similar car, apart from in this one area. So let's go and fire up the Quattro. So foot on the brake, start a button. Now all cars have got drive select, and you can see underneath the P it tells you which mode we're in, so that's dynamic. It's on cold start now anyway, but it does come off cold start quite quickly. Okay, yeah, so it's a bit quieter now. I think some of the early cars, they used to run cold start a lot longer, so they used to be a lot louder and a lot more annoying to your neighbours. Right, so it's got the bellow, so that's dynamic. So we're going to put it into comfort just for the opposite end of the spectrum. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a 5-cylinder engine with quite a big exhaust, so it's definitely not silent in comfort. But if we put it in dynamic, it gets a lot more bass. Yeah, you sure you still want to buy that F3? Am I really selling this car? So yeah, I think for £1,000 to have an engine that sounds like that, it's a bit of a bargain. Right then, let's have a look at the door mirrors, because these are not just standard mirrors. They've got the £275 option to make them folding and to have self-dimming lenses. Now, folding mirrors, a lot of people get very excited about, and I'm sure when they retrofit them, it costs them more than the £275 it costs to actually order this from the factory. And they fold on the switch if you want them to fold like that. And they also fold if you lock or unlock the car, or they unfold when you unlock the car. Apart from that, they also do a dimming function. So you're probably familiar with a self-dipping rear view mirror. Well, these also do that. So you can spot them because they've got this board around the outside of them. When they sense there's a strong light coming in that could blind the driver, they dim it, which is pretty clever. I don't know how much they cost to replace, so you probably need to be particularly careful not to smash them, which is quite easy on quite a wide car. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And for £275, you've just got to have that as well, I think. Okay guys, let's next talk about the RS Sport suspension option with magnetic ride. It's a £995 option on its own. You can have it as part of the Audi Sport Pack for £1,700. That gives you the sports exhaust as well, and tyre pressure monitoring in the virtual cockpit. Now, I think it's brilliant value. I just really need to explain to you how it works so you can fully appreciate how good it is. Basically, it's constantly adapting the suspension to suit the conditions. Some of the cheaper suspension options where you flick a switch like on the Polo GTI, they're not adaptive, they're just either hard or soft. On this, even if you never touch the drive select during your ownership of the car, the adaptive suspension will be constantly working to adapt the damping rate to suit the road conditions and your driving. So if you're on a bumpy road, it'll automatically make the car a little bit softer. If you're driving in a dynamic way on a smooth road, it'll firm up the suspension to make the car more controlled. It's really, really clever. It does that by having magnetic particles within the oil that's within the damper, and an electromagnetic field will control the position of those particles. So if the car should be a bit softer, it will move them away from the valve in the damper and allow the oil to flow more freely. If the car should be firmer, it will make the particles go into the valve, block the flow of the oil, and that way the suspension is a little bit harder. It's really, really clever. I personally would never order a car without it, because for £1,000 it's like 2% of the price of this car, and it gives it just such a broader repertoire. You know, it can be more comfortable, it can be more dynamic. I think it's superb. I think the guys at Evo said they couldn't really tell the difference between the three modes. It wasn't as obvious, and it's true, it's not as obvious as on the Golf R, which is really wallowy in comfort mode, and probably harder than this in race mode. But I think it really suits the car, and I would definitely order it. To find out if your car has got magnetic ride, there is a really quick and easy way to do it, and that is to have a look in the drive select system. So press that button on the dashboard, it gives you the modes. So you've got comfort, auto, dynamic. The one you want is individual, which lets you mix and match the best bits of those other modes. Just press that again and we'll select it using the button on the right of the MMI. And there you have the 5 different things you can change, but the one you want to focus on is that one, suspension control, because if that's not there, then unfortunately you haven't got magnetic ride. But if it is there, you can then choose 3 different settings for it. So comfort, auto, or dynamic. Okay guys, there is one more option I want to talk about inside the car, and unfortunately I can't demonstrate it to you, because if I did, I'd be thrown into prison. Can you guess what it is? It's to raise the speed limiter from 155 miles per hour to 174 miles per hour. Now this costs £1,600, and yes, this car has got it. I'm not sure why anybody would order this. I can only imagine the guy was planning to go to Germany on a regular basis and indulge in those kind of speeds. Otherwise, why else would you spend that kind of money on that option? I think on the older RS3s, probably the 8P version, you could order it and get carbon fibre under the bonnet as well, so at least you knew if the car had it. With this car, you can't really tell. There's only one way you can tell, and that's to have a look at the tyre pressure sticker on the door. Now I did think maybe they gave you better tyres to cover the speeds, but they don't. So anyway, I don't know if you can just see that there, but it says under to 50 kilometers an hour, over 250 kilometers per hour. So if you didn't have the speed limiter raised, you wouldn't be able to go over 250 miles an hour. So I'm pretty sure that sticker is unique to the cars that have had the speed limiter raised. Okay guys, it's pitch black outside now, which is no coincidence, because it means we can talk about the final option, and that's the LED matrix headlamps for £895. Now these, instead of using a bulb for the beam, they use a number of LEDs that are the matrix, and this brings with it many benefits. This is really the future of lighting, so all headlamps in future will be based upon LED, because they are brighter, but also they are more efficient, and they allow a lot of functions to be incorporated into the headlight. A good example is what they're doing with the automatic main beam function, which is standard. Now automatic main beam is nothing new, but on a bi-xenon system, all it does is turn off the bulb that does the main beam. It puts you back onto dip beam. On this system, because the main beam is made up of a number of LEDs, it can just turn off the LEDs that are going to blind the oncoming traffic and leave the rest of them illuminated. You can imagine a situation where a car's coming the other way, the main beam's turned off, and you end up missing something that you hit because you can't see it. Well, in this system that cannot happen, because the majority of the light is still on the road. It's absolutely superb. When I took this car to Suffolk back in November, the roads out there are really twisty, really dark, really narrow, and this was absolutely spectacular. I couldn't believe how much light was still on the road, even though there were cars coming towards me. Now you also get dynamic indicators as standard. You're probably aware of those now. They've been around for a while. I think probably about 5 years now. It started off on the 7 years since the R8 had them. And apart from looking cool, they point in the direction that you're going, which is apparently good for safety. There they are. Now in there are the main beam LEDs, so that's where the matrix is. It's like a grid of LEDs, and you can see by looking at the wall that is a serious bit of light there. So yep, if you're going to order an RS3, or if you're going to look for one second hand, try and look for these headlights. It is kind of hard to tell which ones are LED and which ones aren't when they're not illuminated anyway, so I found it quite tricky to tell. It was only by looking at the order form that I knew for sure with this car. Okay guys, I hope you've enjoyed this Volks Wizard video about what spec to look out for if you're buying an Audi RS3 saloon. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, please comment, please share, and most importantly of all, please subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one soon.